Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this video of the college football rankings for the AFCA coaches poll. You know you're getting right around to college football time when the rankings drop. It takes so long. And yes, I still need to do my SEC rankings or predictions, not rankings, and my Big Ten predictions. But my God, I'm so sick and tired of those conferences. I have to will myself together to watch those conferences at all. I'm so sick and tired of the SEC bias and whatnot, which we'll get into in this video. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 of these teams are in the top 25. 9 of these SEC teams. I'll get into which ones I think should be ranked here, and most of them I think should be ranked in here, but it's mainly just towards the bottom half where I'm just kind of like, what? And then Oklahoma is just outside of the top 25. It's plus Missouri, which is just weird. But let's get into this. A like and subscribe to a comment always helps. So to start things, we've got Texas at number 1 instead of Ohio State. I understand Ohio State is losing a lot, but they're also getting a lot, and they have 2 of the best wide receivers in the country. I mean, one of them is the best wide receiver in the country, but another one is really good. And Ohio State is Ohio State. You can almost guarantee that they're going to build upon their season where they won the national freaking championship. I think it's a little rude to put them at 2 under Texas, who, I mean, we're putting so much faith in Arch Manning to be this quarterback that can lead this team. I mean, it took Quinn Ewers a while. It took him a bit to get into the position he was in, and he still didn't lead them to a title. Yeah, Quinn Ewers had a step back last season, but is that also really his fault, or did the production around him significantly drop? I think Texas, they were a great football team last year, but I knew from the get-go that they weren't the best. And they did give Ohio State a hard time, but honestly, Texas, if anything, to me, had a super good defense. So I definitely think they belong up here at the top. But number 1, I just feel like that's just asking for doom. That's just asking for doom and despair. Penn State at number 3 is reasonable. 2 of the best running backs in the country, both returning to the backfield. You lose your star tight end, but I mean, definitely not a detrimental, game-changing piece. I mean, he was a great player and he was a game changer, but just because you lose him does not mean this team is going to not be college football playoff bound. It's really going to be down to their quarterback. Can he patch up the mistakes he made? He had a horrible interception against Notre Dame. This team would have been in the college football championship if he did not make that horrible interception. But Penn State fell just short on a heartbreaker. This team definitely, reasonably should be up here. Georgia, really, I mean, do we have the faith in the backup quarterback for Georgia who got stomped by Notre Dame last year to carry this team, a really poor offensive team? I don't even know his name. I don't even remember his name. I mean, yes, Stetson Bennett did it, and Kirby Smart is a great coach, but honestly, I know I haven't dropped my prediction video, but I could see this team losing too this year. I mean, last year they should have lost a couple games. They barely escaped Kentucky and Georgia Tech. They barely won those games. They came down to 1 and 2 point finishes. I mean, Georgia was on the brink of not even making the college football playoff. I mean, of course, they ended up beating Texas, but they might not have been there in the first place because they lost to Alabama. I mean, this Georgia team really now that I think about it, I don't think this would have been the team either for me to pick. Notre Dame, they have a really good, I'm not sure if he's still on the team, but their wide receiver last year, so underrated. whoever the kid was catching those touchdowns, the Penn State touchdown, where he juked the shit out of his defender, and then he juked the guy in the backfield for a touchdown. That was either in the Penn State or Ohio State game, but whoever he is, he was a GOAT. Super underrated. A super underrated player. I wonder if he's coming back. I'm not too sure. But then just Jeremiah Love. And I just think there might be some quarterback questions for Notre Dame. I believe when I was making my prediction video, if I remember properly, there was some question marks at Notre Dame's quarterback. It says they are expected to, for the 2025 season, the quarterback is expected to be C.J. Carr, a redshirt freshman and the grandson of former Michigan coach Lloyd Carr. Yeah, so you're putting a lot of faith into him because apparently, this was it. Steve Angeli transferred to Syracuse. If anybody has any information on Notre Dame and what's going on there, go ahead and let me know in the comments. But yeah, there's a little bit of quarterback questions there, but I still think you can expect Notre Dame to be a really good football team. Their schedule, I feel like, takes a step back this year. It's still difficult, but it'll definitely be easier than last year. And they're number 5. They're not even receiving votes to be number 1. Clemson. This is a team I have a lot of faith in this year. They've got a great head coach who was getting criticized hella, made a run into the playoffs, got cut short by Texas, but to get there in the first place was a huge turnaround for Clemson. And also, I mean, Cade Klubnik was great last year. He was definitely putting up a Heisman-like season in theory, not in terms of stats, but he was making some Heisman quarterback plays. It was like a preview almost, like a preview. There's a couple quarterbacks who were giving previews, but Cade Klubnik was definitely one of them. I mean, he showed that he can be clutch in a lot of games, and I mean, they played damn well competitive against Texas. It came down to a 4th down, really. And it was a lot of running in that game, a game in which their starting running back was hurt. So Clemson is hella underrated. They've got some great wide receivers there. They're also returning the most amount of production from the previous season. In previous season, they were a college football playoff contending team. They bring in more. They, second year with the same team, you really should only see improvement from that, especially since you have culture and you have players returning. Clemson is a team I think could be super dangerous this year and super strong. Oregon, they get the quarterback from UCLA, DJ Moore. No, I forget what his name is, but he wasn't really good. He wasn't really good at UCLA, but granted, UCLA was down the pooper, so that is I guess an incentive to make a Big 12 or Big 10. I can't even say Big 10. Dante Moore. That's his name. I was trying to type and talk at the same time. Dante Moore. The Ducks will be a good team. I'm excited to do the UCLA prediction video is what I'm trying to say because they seem to be interesting. But I think we could expect Oregon to be good, but number 7 is a little high for me. I would drop them down the list a bit. Alabama, again, the quarterback for Alabama, another quarterback in which I don't remember his name, is already like on the Heisman list. Like, all right. So you go to Alabama and you're just basically a Heisman contender. I think they're saying Ty Simpson. I'm not sure. It's one of them, but I've seen Ty Simpson in some betting odds for Heisman. I think Alabama at number 8 is still a little much for me. There was a time period last year where I thought this team was the best team in the country. Really, when they beat Georgia in the fashion that they did, I was like, they showed some extreme dominance in that game and that the team can be super, super good. but they were just so inconsistent and based around Jalen Milroe's running ability that in games where he couldn't run, they just lost. They just straight up lost when he couldn't run the ball. And Jalen Milroe was a all right quarterback in my opinion. I think he got taken in like the second round by the Seahawks. You got to replace his shoes. You've got Ryan Williams, who is a great wide receiver, and plenty of other talent. Alabama will be a tough team, but they're playing in a tougher conference. You got to go up against teams like Texas, Georgia, LSU, teams that are all, way better, in my opinion. And yes, LSU is ranked underneath Alabama right now, but I think this team will be good. LSU was a team that I was picking on last year. After their poor performance against South Carolina, I really said this LSU team was not what they seemed. They kind of weren't. They ended up being like a 4-loss team. But what really was pissing me off was how highly they were ranked and how long they were lasting in the ranking system just for them to pretty much finish outside of the top 25 like I said they would. I knew they weren't going to be able to hold it, and they were just eating up a ranking spot from other teams, and that's pretty much what the case was. I can't look back at last year's yes, I can. I can look back at last year's. LSU did not finish on the top 25, and that was with a bowl game win. And, they really just proved me right. Another team, that was last year. LSU this year, though, the quarterback is a really good quarterback, and he has passion. I saw it when he played. He cares about the game, which is important to me. He is a Heisman contender. There's no question about it. Stay healthy is all. Like, Jaden Daniels, Joe Burrow, there is Heisman blood in LSU football. He's lining up to be one. LSU's got a football team on their hands. I would say I could see them going like two losses at maximum. Miami. We are really ranking Miami at number 10 now. Like, that to me is pretty crazy. They start off the year against Notre Dame, in which Miami is not even favored. And that will be a crazy good game, considering it's a top 10 matchup at the start. Miami is going to be, I think, a good football team, but just we're putting our faith in Carson Beck again. I mean, let's be real. Miami had a killer offense last year, but a horrible defense. And they had a killer offense because they had Cam freaking Ward, the number 1 overall pick. I mean, Cam Ward, in my opinion, for a while, should have been the Heisman winner. And then, of course, Ashton Jeanty had a crazy season, and Travis Hunter was playing 2 positions. So it kind of just got put down between those 2 players. But, really, Cam Ward was the number 1 overall pick. We all knew he was going to be the number 1 overall pick, and he was having a fantabulous year with Miami. He was the reason Miami was even spectacular. He sat out in the second half of the Iowa State game, and Miami's production dropped significantly. Miami has to turn around their defense, and they have to rely on Carson Beck to fill in the offensive shoes that Miami was in last year, as well as they lose Xavier Restrepo and Damian Martinez, who were very key offensive players. They also lost just overall a lot of production. And you are relying on a lot of new guys, but just really the main thing for me is you're relying on Carson Beck, who was not good last year, ridiculously inconsistent for Georgia. And, Carson Beck single-handedly lost games last year for Miami. He has to go up against Notre Dame's defense, which you can guarantee is going to be an iron wall. He has to go up against, let's see what other defenses here. Let me pull the schedule back up. He has to go up against Florida, Florida State, Miami, SMU, Syracuse. Honestly, the hardest defense he has to go up against would be Notre Dame. It's right at the start of the year. And, Carson Beck in the first game of last year torched Clemson, who I wouldn't say Clemson had a really good defense last year, but he torched them 34-3. So maybe the first game of the year is a heater, but this dude definitely makes mistakes, and Florida is improving drastically. That looks like a spooky one on their schedule there. Um, I don't know. I think Miami's a little overranked here. Arizona State, heavily underranked. I know it's biased, but this team is so ridiculously underranked. I could go on. I could go on about ASU all day, but all I'm going to say is Sam Levitt, Jordan Tyson. There's a ton of ASU players returning from last season. Everybody is just giving ASU a blindsided eye because of the simplistic fact that Cam Scatterby is gone. We replace him with Kanye Udo from Army, as well as Kyson Brown put on 20 pounds, and you have two other 4-star athletes right behind Kyson Brown. The running back room is absolutely loaded for ASU. There's plenty of players who could step up and take Scatterby's spot for ASU. Simply put, I mean, I talk about this team a lot in my Big 12 prediction video. I'm not going to sit here and eat up everybody's time talking about ASU. I'm not going to do it. I think this team is severely underranked, but I kind of like it, you know? Put them at number 1, I'm sweating in my boots. But 11 is respectable. That is definitely, you know, when I was thinking where we would get placed, this is the AFC coaches poll. But when I was thinking about where they would get ranked, I was thinking they'd probably get put like 15 or something. 11, a spot out of the top 10, is very respectable and nice of the coaches to do that, because I feel like it'd be easy to gloss over us. I mean, thankfully we were placed against teams like Michigan and Ole Miss. That would have pissed me off. But yeah, like it would have, I think if we're talking realism here, I would have ASU at like number 6. I would have Ohio State at number 1, Penn State at number 2, Texas at 3, Clemson at 3, Texas at 4, and then like honestly just like ASU at 5. Those are really the teams that I look here and say, oh yeah, those teams are contenders right there. Those teams are real contenders. Anyways, Illinois is extremely highly ranked. I can't wrap my head around this one, but I can only assume they are returning a lot of production and they got a lot of recruits. And honestly, Illinois did this a couple years ago. They had a really good season where they were ranked. Next season, they weren't projected to be in the top 25 or anything like that. And they didn't finish very close to it. But this year, they weren't expected to be anything, and they shot up out of nowhere. I think they finished off like 3 losses or something. They are a good football team, and I love seeing the Fighting Illini ranked at number 12. I love seeing that. You never see Illinois. Like, Illinois is a good football program now. I love that. That's what I love about this new age of football, is teams like this and ASU as well that are up here. We're up there. Now, we just got to kick out the big programs a little bit ahead, but whatever. Illinois ranked at number 12. A lot of hype. They have a really tough schedule, until the second half of the year. Actually, yeah, no, it's a pretty damn tough schedule. But Illinois, this is a team that can be really good. I think what Illinois was really about last year was a very good defense. The only games they didn't really have that good of a defense was against Rutgers and against Oregon. But Oregon, honestly, they just collapsed against Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. They just played horribly. They let too many mistakes happen. Like, let's not forget, Oregon was undefeated going into that game. Oregon was really a good team. They just blew it against Ohio State. South Carolina, Lenoris Sellers. There is one name that rings around South Carolina, and that is Lenoris Sellers. I love him as a quarterback. The only reason I can't say that out loud, even though I just did, is because he is a Heisman contender, and so is Sam Levitt, so he's my enemy. But I do love this guy. He truly has a lot of potential. And this team can be really good. They were a very solid team last year, but they've got a tough schedule, Honestly, I think South Carolina, personally, I think South Carolina is pretty okay to go 3 losses this year because they were the screaming point of a 3-loss football team that should have been in the college football playoff. But South Carolina, they made some ripples in the world, and they lost to Illinois, which in poetic form, Illinois is 1 spot ahead of them, and that was a pretty good game. But they have to play teams like LSU on the road, Oklahoma, Alabama, Ole Miss on the road. I guess one could say Texas A&M on the road, and Clemson. They have a tough schedule. If they can win at least half of those games and mainly, win at least a good one and drop a road game, I could see this team in the college football playoff. Michigan at 14. We're doing this again. We're putting faith in Michigan. Michigan was a team I said, I don't remember if I said it actually, but to my friends and stuff, Michigan was a team I said should not be ranked as high as they would, and they would not last in the top 25. I'm pretty sure I said that on my channel at some point, but whatever. I'm just a dirty liar. Whatever. I did not think they were supposed to last. I didn't think they were going to be that good. And honestly, I would say they still proved me wrong because I expected them to just be like 7-5 or something, or 6-6 with nothing special. They finished off their year on an absolute heater. They beat Ohio State and then Alabama. They proved that they could be a top 10 football team. They proved it right then and there. Their defense really stood up and said, yeah, we are a top 10 team. So, when they won those 2 games, that was when I was like, whoa, Michigan really should be ranked that high. They proved me wrong still, even though they didn't finish there, and I would love to scream out loud I'm right. They kind of proved me wrong, and they get a 5-star quarterback who is really hyped up, and they just, keep a lot of their defense the same everything, most of the same everything. You lose Will Johnson, who was the GOAT cornerback. This team they've got potential, and I think 14, I think that might be a little high. I would say the perfect spot for them would be 18. That feels like where they're going to finish this year. Unless they pick off a good upset win and they carry a lot of momentum at some point. I feel like Michigan would finish off at around, honestly, I would say around 14 to 18. So it's a perfectly fine placement for me. Second game of the year, they are on the road at Oklahoma. That's going to be a big one. They're also on the road at Nebraska in the Big Ten opener. 2 weeks after that, they're on the road at USC. 2 weeks after that, they're on the road at Michigan State, who is a talking point in my mind. And then, of course, you finish the year against Ohio State, which Ohio State is always a struggle. Even though Michigan has won the last 4, it's always a struggle, and you don't want to let them beat you. So, yeah, I think Michigan is really well placed. Ole Miss. Ole Miss is kind of interesting. 2 first-rounders. Actually, they might have had more. I'm not sure. 2 first-round. They had Walter Nolan selected in the first round, and then obviously the quarterback Jackson Dart. They have a tough one. They don't have a really difficult non-conference. They're one of those teams. Lane Kiffin is a bitch, bro. Sorry. I just really don't like Lane Kiffin. He just looks weird, and honestly, he just gives off crybaby mentality, and this schedule kind of reflects it. I mean, really, we're going to play Georgia State, Tulane, the Citadel. Washington State seemed like a W, but they were kind of poop. Back in the day, that would have been a W, so I respect it. But I mean, this schedule in terms of non-conference is poop. But then they have to play LSU, Georgia on the road, Oklahoma on the road, South Carolina, Florida, even at Mississippi State is a sleeper game. So I do think Ole Miss, I don't know, 15 is a little high. I could see this team finishing at the bottom of the top 25. I could definitely see that. SMU at 16, that's who I would place over ASU. That right there is who I would place over ASU at number 5. This is disrespectful to SMU, and honestly, I can't wait for SMU. If SMU shits the bed, whatever, I was wrong. But if they prove me right, that would be amazing because their schedule reflects it. They play Baylor at TCU, Syracuse at Clemson, Miami, Louisville. They have a toughie on their hands, taking on two Big 12 teams with a lot of hype behind them, mainly Baylor over TCU. But this team to me can win all of their games on their schedule except for the Clemson one on the road. I see this team in the top 5, honestly, for me. Tennessee or Florida. Sorry, I'm not skipping Florida. Florida. I don't even know why this team is in the top 25, honestly. They got one good win, and it was against Ole Miss. And, they were making every mistake possible in that game. That was not a good upset win. That was a sloppy performance. That was not a really good game, now that I look back at it. That was a sloppy performance that Florida came out on top because Ole Miss was playing like shit. That was their only really good win last year. And DJ Lagway started to have a better performance. And yes, he is a good quarterback, but the most I see this team going really is 4 losses. 17? That's that SEC bias right there, man. Seriously, Florida hasn't been anything special in a while. It's different for South Carolina and Ole Miss and Illinois and stuff. They had good seasons last year. Tennessee, Indiana, they had good seasons. Florida was nothing special last year. And they're launching up into number 17. Bro, I would put Oklahoma. No, I wouldn't put Oklahoma. I would put Louisville in the top 25 and USC. Those two teams, to me, seem like more likely top 25 finishes. Florida also has a tough schedule. They're at LSU, at Miami, Texas, at Texas A&M, I guess, Georgia, at Ole Miss, Tennessee, I guess, Florida State. They have an infinitely tough schedule. It does not slow down for Florida. We really think they're going to finish in the top 25. Honestly, now I said 4 loss. I still think they're going to go 7-5. Tennessee, a team that, obviously with their quarterback, a lot of crazy shit. If they kept their quarterback, they would be a lot higher on this list, I promise. But they didn't. But they got the quarterback from Appalachian State or something like that. And supposedly he's going to be good. I can count on Tennessee football to bounce. They were a really good football team last year. They had a really solid defense just because they got smoked by Ohio State, who won the national championship. Ohio State smoked a lot of teams, a lot of teams. So honestly, Tennessee, they've got a tough schedule. They start off against Syracuse, which Syracuse looks to me like they'll win that. Tennessee's favored by 14, but I think Syracuse might turn out to be the better team there. They host Georgia, which is a big third game of the year. They also are on the road at Alabama. They host Oklahoma, at Florida. They have a reasonable schedule, so I could see this team finishing at number 18. That's all right. Indiana. This team is severely underranked. Fernando Mendoza, a great quarterback at Cal, was the only form of production, had some patches he could fix up. He's getting a shot at a starting position for a team that's going to be really good. A team that was already probably going to be in the top 25 now gets another shot because they get a experienced and good quarterback. This dude will probably be picked in the draft. He's a solid pick. He's a good quarterback. Indiana's going to be a scary team. I could see this team finishing in the top 10. They have 3 pooper games to start the year. They host Illinois, at Oregon, at Penn State. Those are their 3 hardest games. This team could definitely finish in the top 10. This is a top 10 football team. Kansas State, starting off against Iowa State. Is Avery Johnson the answer? I'm still not too sure. I think this team did improve, but their quarterback is just not it, in my opinion. He makes too many mistakes. I just don't like the way he plays. He was also playing on a bit of an injury at some point last year, but sometimes that's a recurring issue for quarterbacks, but I'm not going to hold that against him. Maybe this will be his breakout year. I think 20 is a good spot for Kansas. For Kansas State, a lot of people are saying Kansas State should be or is the Big 12 or the best team in the Big 12. Jeez, I'm tripping over my words. They have to start off the year week 0 against Iowa State in another country. Then, I mean, their next hardest game is at Baylor. Then they host TCU. At Kansas is a hard one. Host Texas Tech. At Utah, second to last game. They've got a tough one. I mean, I see them 4 losses, but like the toughiness of their schedule will allow them to number 20. Iowa State, number 21. This is a good spot for Iowa State. I do think this team will probably finish at 25 or outside of the top 25. Start off against Kansas State, already a really difficult one. Get a lot of pooper games up until you play BYU, which you could probably win that, but then you play ASU. Probably not going to win that. At TCU, probably not going to win that. And this is also a team that proved last year that they can drop a game at any given moment. I mean, they dropped that one to Texas Tech out of nowhere. And they're honestly I just don't think they're improving upon last season. They lost 2 of their by far most productive receivers. You just have to fill in that spot alone, as well as they had a horrible rush defense, something that you have to patch up. I don't see how this team gets better. I don't see how they get better that fast, but maybe they'll prove me wrong. I like giving teams the benefit of the doubt. Texas A&M. Why is this team in the top 25? At Notre Dame, 3rd game of the year. Loss. They do have like a lot of happy home games. At LSU, loss. South Carolina, loss. At Texas, loss. I mean, the schedule is low-key lining up for yet another 4-loss year, but Texas A&M at one point last year really looked like they could be a very solid football team when they were just scoring touchdowns on every single drive. I think that was against like LSU. They absolutely turned up one game, and then they just kind of collapsed. BYU is still in the top 25. That's nice to see, but they won't last very long. Their quarterback is a question still, and probably BYU fans are going to wish he stayed a question, because I just don't think anybody's going to be able to fill in the shoes of Retzloff or whatever. And that hit BYU football hard. I mean, there's really nothing you can do about that when a girl accuses a guy of RAPE, and then he just admits it to not to doing that act, but to having intercourse with her, consensual, of course. And but that's against BYU's code of conduct, so they have to suspend him. I mean, like, it's just a whole sticky situation. Like, I guess you could say so. Sorry, I apologize, but it's just a whole messy situation over there. And if it wasn't BYU, it literally wouldn't be a problem. But since it's BYU, they just got cooked, and I mean, that's just unfortunate for BYU fans and BYU football. But God is on their side at the end of the day, so they will probably be fine. BYU has to play at Iowa State, at Texas Tech, host TCU. They've got 3 really tough games on their schedule, but is their quarterback going to be able to be good enough to beat the bad teams? That's really the thing there for me. I don't think BYU finishes in the top 25. Texas freaking Tech at number 24. I thought this team was going to be ranked like above ASU. I'm not even going to lie. Like, I actually thought Texas Tech was going to be super highly ranked. And Oregon State, I forget, they got somebody. Texas Tech, Oregon State's going to be a fun game at the start of the year. But Texas Tech has a lot of tough games. I mean, you could maybe say Oregon State if I remember who their quarterback is. At Utah, that'll be tough. At ASU, that's going to be like a game of the year. At Kansas State, tough one. Host BYU, maybe tough. We'll hold on for that. Texas Tech has a lot of tough games, but I think we can expect them to be good. Boise State. Boise State. Why is Boise State in the top 25? Ashton Jeanty's gone. In theory, they have an easy schedule, but they have to play UNLV and Notre Dame. No, I just don't think they're going to win those. Florida State is a team on this list receiving rankings, which means I'm not the only one who has faith in Florida State.
And there's a lot of fun teams on here that are receiving votes to be ranked, like Tulane, Georgia Tech. Syracuse is way down there, which is weird. Washington is cool. After making it to the college national championship, they kind of took a big step back, and now they are receiving votes. Maybe they're getting some. Oh, Minnesota is a fun one, and Florida State, of course, as well as Kansas. Kansas is Buffalo. Interesting. Somebody shouted out Buffalo. But anyways, let me know what you think your top 25 is. Like, seriously, spend the time to make your own top 25 list. This is, after all, the AFCA coaches poll. But honestly, I think this is a really respectable list. I don't know if I said that at the start of the video. I think that's a really respectable list. And hopefully it doesn't change too much. It always changes a little bit. Maybe ASU in the AP poll will drop down to 18, and all the SEC teams will just be ranked 1 to 12. And actually, fuck it, throw in the whole conference, just 1 through like 16, and then every other team will just be like scattered about. But let me know what your predictions are, or your top 25 is. I will get the SEC video and the Big Ten video out once I can fathom the ability to stare at those abysmal conferences. A like and subscribe would help. A comment always helps. That's all for me. Adios.